You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 90. Oh, today we're going to talk about trolls. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to talk about the kind that live under bridges waiting for Billy Goat's gruff. Or actually, the kids got a new book for Christmas about a troll, which is incredibly confusing. But again, he's far more fun than the ones I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about internet trolls because I've had a couple of experiences with them. Neither were pleasant, and I think it's really important to shine a light on this, not in a way that gives the trolls a platform, because that's kind of what they want, but in a way that helps to, if you're dealing with it, or if you are, obviously, if you are listening and you have troll people, please don't, but I would also imagine that if you're listening to this, that really isn't your style. But as we grow our presence online, as we get bigger, as we get people who notice us more, as we get more positivity, as we make more of a dent, we want to attract more people, but when you attract the positive people who are excited and flag waving for you, you can also attract people who are jealous, people who want to be like you, people who just don't like anybody else apart from them succeeding, and so much else. And I'm not talking about people that disagree with your opinion, because that's completely different. But trolls are quite different again. So I went Googling for good quotes about internet trolls, and I actually found a really good one, which they say David Hay said. So whether he did or not, because obviously we know sometimes that quotes on the internet aren't quite quoted correctly, but I loved it. So let's say it is David Hay, because it's brilliant. It just says people are at the mercy of internet trolls who bring people who are excellent in their field down to their level. They're diminishing someone's flame to make theirs brighter. And I just thought, oh, isn't that true? And I think that I've seen a lot of people who have been trolled. I have observed it. I have seen the comments that have been made, I have seen the reactions, I have seen the effect it's had on them. And when it happened to me, well, I'm recording this, you'll hear it probably 3 or 4 weeks after the second time I've been trolled happened. And it's really unpleasant. So what happened to me was, as you may know, on New Year's Day, I release a podcast every Wednesday. You're listening to this. I released every Wednesday. I call it Podcast Wednesday. The only exception was Christmas Day, because I had done Podmas, so I'd done one from the 1st to the 24th of December, and I didn't do one on Christmas Day. The original plan was actually to do a Podmas on Christmas Day, but I stopped on the 24th instead, which was fine. It was all the plan. Now, my good friend who I work with, loves Sophie Callahan. Sophie was launching an Instagram challenge on the 1st of January. And I said, oh, brilliant. Why don't we do a podcast about it? 1st of January, we can have a little chat about goal setting, resolutions, and we can talk about your challenge and how people can join in for free, get on board with it, how it works, and, that kind of thing. So we recorded it way before Christmas. I had it scheduled. I had everything scheduled because, thank God for scheduling. And that cracked on. And then on the day on my Instagram, I had the post scheduled, so it has a picture of Sophie and everything else. And then that evening, I manually post to Facebook. A lot of the Facebook posts I put out are automated on a system I use called SmarterQueue. Now I basically input stuff into SmarterQueue. I input evergreen content. So if I have written a blog that's not particularly timely, or I've done a podcast that isn't specific to something, as in an event or something like that, I will put it into SmarterQueue and I'll write a number of different captions that go with it, and it recycles my evergreen content. So when you see me posting my Tip Tuesdays, that's done by me in that time. When you see me posting about my podcast, that's done in that time. If you see me posting about brand new blogs, that's done in real time. But if you see older blogs, older podcasts, things like that, they are probably done through SmarterQ. I also have some other things running through SmarterQ. So sometimes if I do a kind of tea or coffee style one, that's something that is probably done through SmarterQ. I do it because it allows me to recycle quality content. Because I don't know about you, but I'll write a blog or I'll put a podcast out, I'll promote it for that week, and then I don't promote it. And the thing is, we know that the way that the algorithms work and the way social media works and the way that people work is they don't see it all the time. And I've actually been looking at the responses and the interactions and the engagement that posts get when they're recycled, and they don't go down. As in, I think when they go to I need to look into this, but every time they cycle, it's not like, you put the first one on and it gets thousands and then the next one gets none. It's actually quite consistent. So it proves that it's not being seen by everyone all the time. So I put that in and I do check it regularly and I mix it up regularly. But it means that I can then have the time to engage in what's being said. So when I put one of these posts up and people comment, I go in and I engage and I know roughly what's happening when. But we talk about scheduling, but it's a great way to get the content that I put a lot of time and energy into that I wouldn't promote because I'd be like, oh, I've got this one to promote, I've got this one to promote. And it would take a lot of time to go back through all your blog posts or all your podcasts and think, oh, I'll do that today. So that's what I do. So quite a lot of my Facebook, well, not a lot, probably 50-50 actually. Yeah. The recycling of the blog posts and things like that is through SmarterQ. So I'm just telling you that. So then I think it was actually on New Year's Day, I obviously shared Sophie's post. I've just clicked on it. It's actually interesting because the troll did delete it, so that was fun. So I shared on New Year's Day Sophie's post, which I'd already done on Instagram, so it probably took me about 2 minutes to share it. So I just basically, when I move from Instagram to Facebook, I often copy and paste it. I look all the way through it. I change anything that's not native. I take out the line breaks. I put the proper links in. I re-tag, etc. So it's not a big job. And I had a comment from somebody who, I'm not going to say their name because I don't feel they need any publicity, and also it's clearly a fake account, and I'll tell you how I am pretty sure of that. So she said, who wants to listen to a podcast on New Year's Day? Give it a rest instead of pushing post after post, question after question, posting throughout Christmas. New Year's Day is a bit desperate. So that was a nice comment. I thought, that's weird because I don't know who this person is. I've never heard of them. I don't know their name. And the picture's weird because the picture was just a little dog. And I thought, that's weird. That's really weird. I wonder. So I ran the image through Google image search because, what else do you do? And it was an image that had been lifted from a website that rescues dogs. So it wasn't, and like a big website that rescues dogs, not like a local charity, a big website that rescues and rehomes dogs. So I thought, that's interesting. So I've got somebody who is being really quite unpleasant in my direction, calling me desperate, which is always lovely to see, and just being quite unpleasant. Using a name that didn't quite feel like a genuine name, just because I don't know, when your spider senses start going. And then, of course, when I realised that the image was nicked from a national organisation, I thought, that is interesting. So that would be a troll. Lovely. So I replied with, thank you very much for your comment. Actually, yesterday was one of the most downloaded episodes I've had, which is true. It actually is one of the best and continues to be really performing very well. So I said, one of the most downloaded I've had. So it would seem that quite a few people did want to listen. Also, most of my posts are scheduled in advance, so don't worry, I had a lovely Christmas with my family and friends. I hope you did too. Thanks so much for commenting. Wishing you an amazing 2020. Now, whether or not I should have replied, I don't know that information, and I will discuss that in a bit. But I was vexed, and I think when anyone calls you any of that. It doesn't feel particularly good. And as I said, most of my stuff is automated, and it automates every week. So it doesn't know it's Christmas, and that's what it does. So I posted with that, and it really annoyed me a lot. And then a friend of mine also commented because they were angered by it. And they had obviously, the comment was brilliant, to be quite fair, but it also highlighted the fact that that person had no friends on Facebook, no posts, nothing that I could actually see that was useful. And it did appear that the account had just been set up just to be unpleasant. So that was really what the other comment was highlighting, to which they replied, this wasn't to me, this was to the other person, "It's very arrogant to assume I would create an account to follow this page, or yours, as you put it, to hurl abuse. Your ego is far bigger than your talent. It's a comment. Deal with it." Now, what was interesting is I took a screenshot of this because, all these fun things are learning points and things to share. Within maybe, I don't know actually how many minutes, but within a few minutes, our lovely troll had then deleted her original comment, and therefore the whole thread vanished, which I thought was interesting. Because if you were that dedicated to your cause and you were not indeed a troll, wouldn't you stand your ground? I would. So, that was fun. It really wasn't. And I said it's the second troll I've had. The first one was on Instagram, actually. But that was just sour grapes, I think it's fair to say. And I think jealousy, because I was working with somebody that they wanted to work with. So I should say I don't know who either of these trolls were. I have suspicions. I think we all have suspicions when these things happen. But I can't prove it. And more to the point, do I want to? By which I mean the amount of time it would take me would, I feel, be probably playing into their hands a bit more. And I'm kind of done with that. I'm really done with that. So, again, through looking at what's happened to other people, through thinking about how it's made me feel, all these things, it made me feel really rubbish because I thought, oh my God, have I been posting too much? Or often has the automation been happening? And I had seen a couple of times over Christmas it had posted, and I was like, and I just deleted it because I didn't want it to be promoting that specific thing. Usually it's fine, but I do think Christmas is a bit different. But it doesn't post often. It was me being ultra picky. I think once I deleted something it posted because I was like, oh well, I'm kind of not talking about that at the moment. And I think it was probably one of those things that needs to be taken out the automation, which I've now done. But it doesn't post often. And the point is that when you upload a podcast, you upload it on a specific day. But that doesn't mean that the person has to listen to it on a specific day. I mean, when I turn my phone on, it never goes off. When I opened up the podcast thing to make sure this was number 90, a load of podcasts came in from other people I subscribed to because I haven't listened today. I think I listened. No, I must have listened over the weekend. But they just come in. Now, whether I listen to them or not isn't on me. It's not on anyone else. And you can batch listen, you can binge listen, you can not listen at all. It's completely up to you. So, and also when you put out, your social media posts, you're not making anyone listen to them. You're not making anyone watch them, interact with them, read them, look at the pictures. It's just what it is. So the first thing is, don't feel bad about posting. We know it's really important to be consistent. We know it's important to post regularly because of the percentage of people that follow you that actually get to see what you post. You need to keep up that consistency. Even over Christmas, because Christmas is one day. And I don't think I posted on Christmas Day. Oh no, I did, which was actually something I did in real time because I shared something on Instagram and then I shared it across. But again, it probably took me a minute just saying Merry Christmas because Christmas can be a hard time and I get that because obviously, as I said, I think on the post, in 2012, my mother died quite soon, when was it? It was the 10th of December, so 14 days before Christmas. So I completely understand that Christmas isn't easy for everybody. And I think that I always feel it's important to say that, because everyone gets very excited about Christmas, quite rightly. But if you've had a loss, or you have a difficult family situation, it can feel really painful. So I just want to keep mentioning that, because I just feel if somebody is having a really crappy day and they see it, it might just help. And that's what we want our content to do. We want it to help and inspire, or something like that. So I'm happy with that. So I don't feel like I was posting too much. I don't feel like I had a negative Christmas or New Year because of my posting, because I really, really didn't. And I consumed people's content over Christmas and New Year. I wanted to see what my friends were up to, businesses I follow, things like that. So I wasn't too bothered. But it still made me feel bad, because I was thinking, oh my God, someone thinks that badly of me. And as humans, we want to please people. We want them to like us. And I think it's a really important thing to realise that you're not everyone's people, and you don't have to have everybody liking you. You want them to, but if they don't, that's fine. You know, we're all different, and that is life. It is painful and it does hurt. I'm not saying, and then I laughed about it and I didn't think about it again. I'm doing a blooming podcast about it. But I'm hoping that by explaining what's happened to me, and it isn't bad. I know a lot of people have, really quite bad trolling things, and it can obviously escalate and get worse. But I think it's important to look at this, because it is something that a lot of people deal with. A lot of people that I know have had trolling things happen. And it is really, really rubbish. It's hard. It makes you really sad. It makes you question what you're doing. And I realised that subconsciously I'd actually started to question what I was posting after it happened. And then I was like, no, this is just ridiculous. The theory I've been using, the strategy I've been applying, has done exactly what I wanted to do. It's helped me find people who want to know about what I've got to say. It's helped me find friends. It's helped me find really good people, amazing businesses. I've been able to help people through the strategy I've applied. But I'm letting one person who doesn't even have the balls to be themselves online affect what I'm doing. So I'm taking somebody who literally can't even show their face, and I'm taking what they say more seriously than everything else positive that's happened over the last however many years. Like, that's ridiculous. So I get it. The thing is, the troll generally likes to be anonymous, so, they can't be called out because they're not them. No one knows who they are. They're being clever and deceptive. They're not. They're being really unpleasant, not clever, cowardly. I mean, it's just weak. So that's not a good start, really. They want attention. It's like a cry for help, isn't it, being unpleasant, especially when you can hide behind something. So again, we've got cowardly, we've got attention seeking. They're not traits that I want in someone that I really want to hang around with. I don't know about you. So there's a lot of advice as to how to deal with trolling. One of the things is generally not to kind of feed the troll, but there are different ways of feeding the troll. So some people's not feeding the troll will be to ignore them, to block them, anything else. And I completely get that. And that was very much the next step I was planning to take if they came back again. Because also we're lucky that we have, a lot of us will have people that will come to our defence. We have communities that are there to support us. And whilst someone having a go at me is not nice for me, what would be worse would be to see someone, bless their hearts, defending me. What would be worse would be to see somebody absolutely bless their hearts, and I'm eternally grateful for the person that did. I mean, they can really hold their own, so don't feel sad for them. But to see somebody defending me and see them attacked, because that would annoy me more than me being attacked, and I would jump in and kick off them, which is not professional or appropriate or pleasant or any of those things. But when you see your friend being attacked, you don't just stand by. So yeah, some people would say to ignore, some people say to block, and I think both of those are really valid. One thing is to make light of it, which, again, I'm not saying any of these theories are correct. I'm just explaining what some people do. So that would be if somebody had been particularly unpleasant, you would make a joke of it. That is probably a strategy that I would potentially use. I'm not sure if that's the correct thing to do. The best thing I honestly think would be to block and move on with your life and ignore. But I don't like people saying things about me that aren't true. So I used another one, which was to correct the mistakes. And that's another thing, again, if you do any reading online about how to deal with trolls, that is another theory that people use, because I don't mind people not liking me as long as it's for like actual genuine reasons. Not reasons that they've been told or that are fictitious or that aren't true. Or people who are maybe a lot rather blinkered to their own actions. So I don't appreciate that. And I have too often stepped back and not put my point of view across. So I thought, yeah, that was your moment. So I did correct the facts as I've explained. Now, I'm not sure if the troll would have come back at me when I corrected their errors in accuracy, because they came back at someone who came to defend me and also to really shine a light on them. I don't know. Although I would say that if they had come back, I would have probably deleted them and blocked them, because there's only so long you can deal with people wasting your time, and I feel that that would be my limit there, because I would want it to be that if they'd said something that was actually inaccurate in a public forum, that I could defend myself in a way that people reading it would kind of go, oh yeah, I see what she's saying, and just to put my point of view across. Again, whether that's correct or not is up to you. If someone is trolling you on a blog, you can just disable the comments, so you can stop them interacting in that way, which can be useful, because especially on a blog, I think it's a different animal a little bit. The thing, though, that I would definitely say is don't get into a slanging match. So don't get the to and fro and the back and forward, because you're wasting your time. And also you're really beginning to be dragged down to their level. You know, they're insulting you and being foul. You're insulting them and being foul. And I'm not talking about you're correcting their inaccuracies, because I think that's fair enough, in my opinion. But if you get into a slanging match with them, you know, these people are anonymous. They're hiding. They are being unpleasant from a place where they can't be touched. And you are being you, and you are arguing with someone who has got no standards. It's like, I mean, you can't argue with that, really. Because even if you made the most valid argument, they would be working to drag you down to their level by the content that they were putting out there, the comments they were using, the words they were using. So I would definitely try to avoid that one. And that's like, you know, name calling and literally like a slanging match. So I would really try and avoid that. So there's lots of different thoughts on it, and I think you've got to do what feels best for you. So I wanted to reply and go, no, that's not accurate. This is what happened. This is actually, it's getting really good downloads. People are really enjoying it. I'm getting a lot of interaction online. I'm getting DMs. People are really loving the podcast. So I see what you're saying. And if you don't want to listen, that's fine. I don't care. If you don't want to listen today, good for you. If you don't want to listen ever, to be honest, you're not my customer. So you're not my people. You're not my tribe. You don't get what I'm talking about. You don't get me clearly. So I don't care if you never listen. But the people that do, and I know when I took the dog out for a walk on New Year's Day, because my husband was working on New Year's Day, and I managed to get I think I took the kids out in the morning, and then I got my father to sit with them while they watched a film, and I quickly took the dog out. I listened to a podcast, not my own, but I listened to a podcast. It was nice to listen to something different, to get out in the fresh air, to have a walk. But that's me. So that's fine too. So you have to work out what is the best action for you. But what I would say is that if you don't feel that you have to defend yourself, and you don't have to. You don't have to do anything I've said. But I would not be afraid to block, delete, move on. Because the people aren't the people. They're hiding behind a facade, a fakeness, and using that to attack you. So do keep that in mind. You're not dealing with somebody who is coming to you with a valid argument, who is themselves online saying, oh, have you thought about this? Oh, I've thought of this. oh, I see what you're saying, but no, none of that. It's not the same as someone saying, for example, oh, that's really interesting that you posted on New Year's Day. Can I ask why? Because I would have thought that would have been a bad date for downloads. I'll answer that. Any day of the week, I'll answer that. Do you think it's important to keep up posting over Christmas and New Year? I see that you posted quite a lot. Can I ask why that was? I'll answer that, because it's a valid argument. I mean, I didn't post a lot, but it's a valid argument. I'm good with that. It's not the fact that someone is asking me questions about what I do, because I do a podcast, for God's sake. I'm happy sharing stuff. It's the way it's done. It's not I wonder why. Oh, this is interesting. It's you are rubbish, go away, you're rubbish. Well, go off my blooming Facebook page then, love. I'm ranting. So, I want to conclude this episode before I get ranty, but I'm pleased, I wanted to share it because I think a lot of us have had this issue, and if you're listening and you've had this issue, I would love to know. I'd love to know what the issue was, and I'd love to know how you dealt with it, because I think by sharing and by talking and not being embarrassed that someone is being horrible, as in it's easy to look and go, oh God, it's me, I've done something wrong. I'm not saying I never do anything wrong. I don't want you listening to this going, God, she's up herself. See, I'm just batting off the trolls. The whole people who are excellent. But I'm not saying that I am excellent, I never do anything wrong. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that there are people out there who are just seekers for those who are trying and those that are pushing themselves. And that's not cool. It's not good to do that. Okay, if you've got a valid argument, send the person a DM. Be nice about it. There are ways you can get your point across that isn't trolling. I'm not saying we should always go, oh yes, you're amazing and you're quite right. If you don't think someone's right, tell them, but do it in the right way. Don't do it behind a fake profile of a dog from a rescue centre. Do it properly. So, got excited there. So I want to conclude this by saying, I'd love to know if you've had a troll. Let's shine a light on the fact that this is common. Let's not name names because we're going down to the trolls level. That's why I haven't told you the name of the fictitious person that trolled me, because I believe they are a work of fiction. I know their name. But actually their whole profile disappeared after they deleted their comment, which, was a bit suspicious, but there we go, different story. So I'm not saying we should be shining a light going, yeah, and such trolled me. No, we're not doing that. But we can say, I was trolled. If we start saying that this is happening, it breaks a lot of the stigma around it, because we're not going, oh, it's me, I've done something wrong. We're saying, yeah, there's a lot of people out there who have had this happen to them. And this is how they dealt with it. Whether right or wrong, this is how they dealt with it. This is how it made them feel. It's rubbish. So I want you to know that it's not you, it's them. The way they are handling this is them. It's so not you. Even if you have done something wrong, something that isn't well regarded, whatever you've done, the way that the troll deals with this is not appropriate. It makes it them, not you. Whatever you've done, it makes it them and not you. And obviously, if it gets really nasty, you have to escalate it. So it's not just a case of blocking and ignoring. If it becomes a lot worse, you need to take it further. You need to look at whichever platform the trolling's happening on and report it. And then often they have got advice about how you escalate that further, even getting the police involved and things like that. If it gets to that level, don't be afraid to do this, because it's like bullying, but a kind of masked bully in public. It's awful. It's really awful. And obviously there are very different levels of it. What happened to me was annoying and it was mildly upsetting. But actually, on the whole scope of trolling, it was nothing. It was a speck. But it can get a lot worse. I know, I've seen it happen. And if it does for you, escalate it. Don't be afraid of the people who don't have the balls to be themselves. Escalate it. Get it stopped. Because if we are more active against trolls, not in a way that promotes them, but if we take less of this kind of rubbish, it's got to get better. We don't want people being afraid to speak online about things that are important to them. Fear of some little troll behind a keyboard. In my head, they're green. Just spouting rubbish. That's not right. If you don't like what someone's saying, either speak to them nicely about it, don't comment or unfollow. The whole, if you haven't got anything nice to say, a troll needs to really take that message to heart. So, trolls. Not my favourite subject at all, but I think one that is really important. So if you've listened to this podcast, thank you. As always, I massively appreciate it. I would love you to screenshot and share to your stories and tag me. I would love you to say if you've had something with trolls that has made you, if you've had a troll incident. Is that right? A troll incident. We should find a word. I'll think of a word. I'd love to know. I'd love to know how you dealt with it, whether you were an ignore, a defend, or a disable, or a joke, or however you dealt with it. I would love to know about that. So thank you so much for listening. I'm going to love you and leave you now. Thank you. And I really hope that this has helped. I hope that if you have been trolled, it makes you realise you're not alone and maybe gives you some ideas of how to manage it. As I said, the ideas that we discussed, if you have a look online, people deal with it in all sorts of different ways, but it can really affect you. It upset me. There have been stories in the news where people have really taken the whole trolling thing incredibly badly, and I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to know it's not you. I want you to have the kind of confidence to deal with it in a way that fits you, and I want you to also have the confidence to report it or act on it in a way that is helpful to you, because the troll really doesn't deserve our attention. It's about you. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch up very soon, next week in fact. Take care.